There are 3 things that consistently make a boss fight feel unfair. And the interesting part is, they're not actually about difficulty at all. Before we get into the first one, I want to be clear about something. Not all frustration is bad. Anything you don't understand yet is going to feel frustrating. Like if I open up Osu and play the hardest difficulty, I'm going to look at that and think, this is complete bullshit. But for someone who actually plays the game, it's completely normal. So when something is hard and people say it feels bad, that's expected, but it doesn't automatically mean it's unfair. It is, however, frustrating, and they might call it unfair. What I'm about to talk about, however, should almost always be avoided. Starting with number 1. Something will feel unfair if it invokes a feeling of helplessness. There's a lot of things that can cause this, but a few that come to mind are when you deal little to no damage, a boss has an attack that you can't react to, or you're stuck in an awkward social situation, but you promised a friend that you would be there. Seriously though, few things will be more instantly frustrating to a player than feeling helpless. Most people are actually pretty quick to accept blame when they know that they did something wrong. The Asylum Demon in Dark Souls 1 is actually a great example of this. So many people heard that Dark Souls was such a hard game that they went into it with the expectation that it would be brutal. So when the Asylum Demon drops down and you're holding a broken weapon, and you swing at it and you do no damage at all, a lot of people thought that this was what the game was supposed to be. And they, rightfully, quit, because they did so little damage that they felt as though the game was just wasting their time, not as though this was a challenge they were supposed to overcome. Those same people, however, when they were told that they were actually supposed to just leave the boss room through this easily missable door, did accept the fact that they messed up. And most of them gave the game a second chance. But imagine if you really were supposed to beat the Asylum Demon with that broken sword. That is just not fun for most people. The second thing that makes something feel unfair is when the game stops making sense. Not when it's hard, but when what happens doesn't match what you expected. Such as if someone started cheating in a game and instantly it's not fun anymore. But where it feels unfair is when a video game breaks its own rules to make you lose. The reaction then is way more intense than normal. Think about losing to lag, a glitch, or the camera getting stuck. Those situations always get a stronger reaction than just getting outplayed. But of course, even the best programmer can't just decide that they're not going to put any glitches in their game. That's not quite how it works. What I have seen, though, are bosses that have attacks that randomly get a shockwave AoE around them without any real animation that makes it warranted. Or a game deciding that certain attacks can't be parried, but not giving you any indication of what those attacks are. These are the actual design flaws that break player expectation and feel unfair. Luckily, these are also the easiest ones to fix. If you want to do something like make certain moves unblockable, just make sure that there is an indication that they are, and then use that indicator everywhere. If you don't, you will make a more frustrating game and not a better game. Now, the final rule. This may come as a shock to you, but people don't typically like it when they lose something. I'm talking progress, work, effort, anything. People are naturally loss averse. So the final thing that makes something feel unfair is when the punishment doesn't match the mistake. This one people feel instantly. You mess up once, maybe not even that badly, and the game just one-shots you. Whether it's with an attack that becomes a full combo and instantly deletes you, a gank that feels completely unwinnable, or just an unlucky series of moves. But the thing that makes this really sting is when it happens at the end of a very long section, or it's been a long time since you've had your last save point. Now, of course, for games to be interesting, you need to be able to lose. But there is a reason why the long runbacks of the original Souls games are mostly a thing of the past. Forcing someone to go back and play through a whole level again, or taking away progress, currency, or whatever, is one of the easiest ways for players to be incredibly frustrated. Now, note this is different from gambling, where the player actively made the choice to put something on the line. Just to make sure that if you're ever going to take something away from your players, it feels warranted. They chose to risk it, or it's not such a big hassle to get back to wherever they were. Unlike the other two rules, this one is going to be mostly based off of feeling. I can't just say never take away progress from your players, because obviously that advice doesn't work. But I bet you anyone who's played a lot of games gets where I'm going with this. Be very careful with how much you make your players lose. A more meta example of this actually happened in League of Legends just this year. For those who don't know, it is a very competitive game with a lot of people that compete for the top spot on the ranked ladder. Well, they did some changes to their ranking system, which made it so that certain players were winning way more points than normal, and other players were losing way more points than normal. And this completely disincentivized a lot of high-level players from playing the game, because they felt like the system was just controlling how much they'd win or lose, and not their own skill or anything in their control. So when people say something feels unfair, they're usually not talking about difficulty. They're talking about one of three things. Either they feel like they couldn't do anything to change the outcome, what the game wanted or what happened wasn't clearly communicated, or they feel like they lost more than they deserved for whatever choice they made or mistake they made. And all three of these issues can exist in a game that is technically fair. A boss can be completely consistent, beatable, and still terrible to fight, because unfairness isn't really about the systems. It's about how the player feels experiencing the systems. Anyway, like I said at the very start, how things feel is a topic that is very emotional and personal, but hopefully these rules were general enough that you can understand where they apply and get something from them. When you're talking about game feel, it's not like I can just say, never make a move faster than 6 frames or people won't like it, you know what I mean? Still, I think if you're designing a game, these are the 3 strongest things that I would try to look at when I'm evaluating whether or not people will like it. Because frustration at themselves for not being good enough will almost never make somebody stop playing your game. But frustration at the game will. With this, day 2 of my video experiment is done. I hope you enjoyed, and until next time, I'll actually see you tomorrow. See ya.